Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Loreli Drache. Welcome to the celebration of consciousness. Today, we have some exciting presentations. We have Michael Lee, who is going to be speaking to us about soul retrievals. We have a beautiful presentation by Rev Ned Sheldon on transmuting to pure love. And then we're going to have a between lives free birth planning session with Jeff Kelson. I'm so excited about that you guys to experience. And then we'll have a beautiful closing blessing with Rev Ned. I love how he pulls everything together. So I'm just gonna hold some space here for a minute. I always like to call in the energies and our spirit teams and angels, whoever you decide to work with that you want to invite into this space with us today. Well, for me, I call in I ask and invite them for my guides, my angels, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, all my interdimensional brethren, and the celestials and the elementals of both earth and sky. I'm just so thankful for all the beings that guide and support us on these journeys every day, right? In all different ways, in all different multidimensional existences. Because recently I've been through some health challenges, and I have seen so many multiverses and so many versions of me during this experience that it's been a journey. And you forget to be thankful for the little things. Spirit had guided me today as far as the theme. Sometimes we do a theme, and they were really saying for January that they invite us to rejuvenate. Usually you hear that like in March, because that's when spring and everything comes back to life, right? But they're inviting us to embrace new versions of ourselves, go back to our purest essence, relight that spark of what brings us joy, the little things, from being creative, from being able to whatever form of creativity you have when it comes to like dancing, painting, woodworking, ironworking. We all have various interests, but it is a form of creative spiritual expression. And many masters work through us when we associate and try to embrace those talents, skills, whatever you want to call them, but they're divinely guided. Each little thing, many, many lifetimes of us perfecting these skills. So, I'm so excited to be able to do those things going forward, going back to what brings me the most joy. Not supposed to, not have to, but what brings you joy. So I invite you on that journey as well, to find a spark that you can flame. I'm very thoughtful today. I think the biggest thing I'd like to share that I learned in this journey recently, yeah, I would say it would have to be how limitless we are, and that this body is a vessel that responds to our will. Many, many times I saw many, many lives during this recent health challenge, and some I didn't come back to my body, other ones I did. And just the beauty of being out of body, in body, and all the experiences that there are to have in this multiverse. That's why I'm so excited for the presentations and the pre-birth planning and the soul retrievals to help explain and understand some of these things that we go through as these sparks of the divine. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Michael for his presentation. Thank you for being here and holding space with us, Michael.
Thank you, Lorelei, and thank you so much for inviting me to give a talk about something that has become really important to me in this lifetime. So a little bit about me. My name is Michael Lee. In my day job, when I'm awake, I'm a scientist, I'm a father, husband. But when I sleep, I like to go out of body and astral travel, whatever you want to call it. Um, and this started about 20 years ago. When I was younger, I had a terrible fear of death. Because I always worried, well, what if when you die, nothing happens and everything you learn is for waste and just disappear? So I was really scared about all that stuff. And then I watched a show on, actually, ironically, the Sci-Fi Channel. It was called Crossing Over, and it was with the medium John Edward. And he was reading people. He was able to pick up deceased loved ones, and I wasn't sure what to think. But then I picked up his first biography, which was written before he became famous on TV. So it was written fairly humbly. I went through that book feverishly. At the end of it, I came up with three possibilities. One is he's making everything up, just to sell some books or become famous. The second possibility was that he really believed that he was hearing from spirits, but he was just delusional. And the third possibility was that it was real, that he really was talking to spirits. And that night I decided, you know what? I think it's real. I think that makes the most sense. After that, I started searching on the internet, which was still fairly primitive at the time, but I came across something called out-of-body experiences, and that sounded really fun. So I looked that up, and I found a website from a person who is very famous today, Robert Peterson. His first ebook is still free online for anybody to read at robertpeterson.org. And I went through that book. He explained his out-of-body experiences. And at the end of each chapter, he gave a method that you could try at night to see if that would help you go out of body yourself. One of the main things he says right from the get-go is keep a journal, and that turned out to be very important. First few weeks, I tried things, I wasn't getting much progress, and slowly getting discouraged. But after a few months, I looked back at my journal, and sure enough, I had certain events and experiences that were anomalous, and so that kept me going. The other thing I discovered was that I had a natural ability, since I've been a child, of lucid dreaming. And it turns out lucid dreaming is the entry point that I use to astral project. In the old days, for me, I would lucid dream, and then I'd go, hey, I want to go out of body. And then your focus goes back to your body, and then you struggle to go out of body. But I soon realized that lucid dreaming I was already sort of in the spirit world. So this gets me to soul retrievals. Okay, so first let me explain what a soul retrieval is. So the idea is that when people pass over, all of their energy bodies, all of their spirit remains, even though their physical body is no longer capable. The assumption is, oh, well, they move along and everything's great. But the challenge is that we have more than one energy body. Turns out we are sort of like a Russian doll of energy bodies. And our physical body actually acts as an anchor to all those energy bodies. And the two main energy bodies we could talk about are the astral body and the soul body. Now, the soul body is already at home in a way. It's already in what I would call the soul plane. But the astral body is very much attached to our earth self. And when we do astral traveling, that's usually the body we use. Now, when we die, if everything goes correctly, the astral body just goes up with all the other energy bodies and everything's great. But if there's been trauma before the death, or somebody had a belief system that believes that they shouldn't go to a more neutral type heaven-like place, then they can get stuck. And so a retrieval then, in the most general sense, is helping that astral body make it back to what I would call the heaven plane. So let me take a quick sidebar and explain. So there's the earth plane, at least in simplistic terms. Then there's the astral plane, which acts as a buffer between the earth and what I would call then the mental plane. And the mental plane is also known as Focus 27. I call it heaven often to people that I work with in retrievals. But nonetheless, it's a place where at the astral body can reintegrate with its greater soul body. Now, like I said, sometimes that doesn't work out well. Another situation that can cause problems and cause the astral body to get stuck is that if in our lifetime we suffer traumas or like PTSD, our astral body can actually split in two or fragment into multiple pieces. And sometimes you can see this manifest in people where maybe they completely forgot about a certain event that happened in their life. It's almost like there's a separate self. And so when the person dies, that separate self doesn't just automatically remerge with everything. It actually remains an independent entity within the astral plane. And the way I like to think of it is that the astral bodies, if they don't reintegrate instantly, they sort of act like buoyancy, where they rise to the level of vibration within the astral plane that they meet up with. So somebody that might have had like a traumatic death may have their astral body stuck in a very low frequency plane. Someone who believes that their religion is the only religion that gets them to heaven may have an astral body that hits up in a higher vibrational plane, but nonetheless, they're sort of stuck within that higher vibrational plane. Now, where does people like me come in? Well, it turns out the system, as you can tell, is a little bit glitchy, right? In the sense that astral bodies don't always reintegrate quickly. In fact, it could take up to 100 years, depending on the wait list and how urgent it is to get that astral body back into reintegrated. Now, another glitch that can occur is that in the very, very lowest astral subplanes, there's helpers in the spirit world that are always trying to help these astral bodies move forward. And they can help in most of the vibrational planes. But in the very lowest one, which I'll call subplane 1 and 2, the helpers can get down to that level, but their light is very dim, and they almost look like they're like puppets at that level. It's like they have very little energy that they're able to carry down from the mental plane into those lowest subplanes. Meanwhile, when a human astral projects, they carry with them what I would call the energy from Earth. And so they shine very brightly. Their astral body shines very brightly no matter where they are in the spirit world, but they also shine brightly in those lowest vibrational planes. And so astrals, spirits that are stuck in those lowest planes can see us very easily. Now, that in itself is great. They still could be scared of us because they might be scared of everything, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the general process then for what I call a soul retrieval or spirit retrieval is when one of us humans projects either voluntarily or involuntarily. I would argue that everybody probably does at least 1 or 2 retrievals in their lifetime, and they don't even realize it. And basically, they just talk to the spirit that's stuck there. And having that conversation is usually enough to make that spirit aware enough to see helpers behind them. And those helpers then can do the rest. Now, as you progress, you can take more of a role, and I'll explain that in a moment. So how did I find out about soul retrievals? Well, about 2-3 years into doing my out-of-body experiences, I had read Bob Monroe, I'd read Seth, I read Michael Newton. I read a series of books by Bruce Moen. Now, Bruce Moen he was an engineer, so he was very analytical, and so he wrote books in a style that I could appreciate. And what he did was write about his experiences at the Monroe Institute in Virginia. Now, the first experience that people go to is a week-long retreat, and they do what's called the gateway experience. And that just gets them acquainted with going out of body. And the truth is that everybody that shows up to the gateway experience doesn't necessarily get the same positive effect, but a lot of people do. Now, of the people that are successful, there's a second program available to them, another week-long retreat called Lifelines. And in Lifelines, they learn about retrievals. Now, here's the interesting thing about retrievals. Prior to the emphasis and sort of the rediscovery by Robert Monroe in the 70s and 80s, it really wasn't known that much at least in Western culture. There is some evidence of retrievals in history. Shamans were known to go into the underworld and help out spirits. There was also like Jewish mystics would talk about experiences of helping spirits in the underworld. But it wasn't a much talked about thing, and certainly not within religions generally, because people might think that, there's something wrong with the system. How could there be anything wrong with the system? God is perfect. So Bob Monroe really brought things into the modern forefront. And it actually, one of the big events for him was before he started his Monroe Institute retreats, he had something called Gateway Explorers, which were about 10 people. And each one of these people would lay down on their bed, have an experience, but still was able to talk into a microphone and describe their experience in real time. And one of the women who was a Gateway Explorer had a guide that would often help out. And during one of their sessions, they were working on something, and the guide said, "Hey, I have a surprise for you. I'm going to try something that we haven't done before, and see what you think." And what the guide made happen was that a spirit that was stuck in a low vibrational state was able to channel through the woman's voice and was able to then speak to Robert Monroe, who was on the headset talking in the other room. And they proceeded to have a conversation that's now been recorded, and you can find it on YouTube under the Patrick Experience in Gateway. But basically, it outlined an early retrieval that was new to everyone there. Bob Monroe himself may have done some retrievals in his early out-of-body experiences, but maybe didn't know exactly what to think of it. But after this experience, it really cemented the reality of what was going on, and it inspired the development of the Lifelines program. Now, another big positive, and why they probably put the Lifelines program as the second experience that you can have, is that it really opens up our awareness of the spirit world. Because when you work within the spirit world, it's like having a backroom employee pass. And of course, we all know that everybody would love to have backstage passes to their favorite musicians. So in this case, this really does give us a backstage pass to how at least the lower vibrational part of the spirit world works. So after reading Bruce Moen's books about his experience with retrievals, I thought, hey, I want to try this out myself. So what I did is I became lucid during a lucid dream, and I said, hey, I'd like to do a retrieval. And sure enough, I was transported to an area. It was dark out, and it was like a field, and there was a little child there, and the child was crying. And I started talking with the child. I asked him his name. I asked him what happened. He said that he appeared to have been in like a farm tractor accident or something like that. And then I tried to console him, and I told him, there's people here that are going to help you. They're going to, and they're going to take you to a wonderful place. And that kind of brightened up his mood. And then it went from being dark to being light out. And then I heard almost like this orchestral music playing, like at the end of a teary movie. And so that was then my first experience. After that one, or maybe the second one, I was actually brought up in front of some people, and they proceeded to spin me end over end. And I asked, well, why are you doing this? Well, they said that, I picked up too much of the negative energy from the experience, and so they wanted to clean me out. Now, after this experience, I had many more experiences like this, where I would simply be transported. The transportation could take anywhere from 30 to 40 seconds from where I was in the lucid dream into the place where the retrieval was occurring. And then I would just proceed to talk to the person. Then one day I said, you know what? I'd like to know where you're taking these people. And so at the time of the retrieval, there were two people. So one person took the spirit away, and I said, hey, I'd like to go too. So the other guy grabbed me, and instantaneously I was brought into a new realm that I had never seen before, but I knew to be focus 27, which is the mental plane. And the one characteristic that really stuck in my head at that point was that I felt really happy and joyful. And so I knew that if I wanted to be able to dial in that plane again, that I just needed to experience the state of being super happy and super joyful. And that maybe would help me get there. And so from that point on, when I would do retrievals, instead of just talking with the spirits, I would actually try to carry them myself. Now, it's not quite as efficient as what as a spirit helper can do, but it sometimes is very useful, especially if they get stuck in those very low planes. Different techniques I tried, including just grabbing onto them and trying to rise up through the subplanes. Another early technique was I imagined stairs, and then I would climb up the stairs with this person. And as we were climbing, we would be going up the different subplanes. And honestly, when you're doing a retrieval, you only need to carry them up 1 or 2 subplanes for them to be then in the reach of the spirit helpers who can take over. But I got quite ambitious over time, and I got to the point where I was able to lift them up all of the subplanes and then carry them into the mental plane. Now, as time progressed, my experiences became more and more difficult. Like I said, sometimes spirits get scared of you. Children get scared. It's funny, I have a technique for catching children. So normally they get scared and run away, it's children spirits. And so what I do is I pretend that I'm playing a game of chase with them, where first they're running away from me, and then I say, it's my turn. And then I start running away from them, and then they start running towards me. And that's how I catch them. But don't tell any child spirits that, otherwise that technique won't work anymore. But in any case, spirits can become more violent. In other words, they could try to attack you. I've been shot a few times. It just stings a little bit, the bullet. Also, they could just be very evasive. And so then I've had to develop techniques to handle these more challenging cases. One of the challenging cases that I run into sometimes is the spirit is like completely asleep. And sometimes it looks like they maybe were under the influence of drugs. And I find that for that particular case, if I sing to them, if I literally just sing any song in the world and just start singing, it sort of awakens their energy. And one time even, I sang to the spirit, and I could actually see like this portion of him sort of integrate into a disc of multiple portions of his soul. And so it really just sort of activated his energy with that singing. Another technique I use, which I don't recommend unless you're pretty advanced, and also the helpers don't necessarily like it when I use it too much, is an elevator technique. And this happens when I notice I'm in a situation where I'm retrieving more than one spirit at the same time. One technique you can use is have all the spirits join hands, and then you grab both ends and you lift them all up. But that can get more and more difficult. So a technique I came up with is sort of like an elevator technique, where if I could get them into like a single room, perhaps the size of this room here, I can then imagine the whole room moving upward. And through that technique, it actually, it'll start out slow, very slow. It'll take almost like a minute for it to start moving. And then it'll slowly accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. And I think where the helpers get annoyed at me is when I get it moving so fast that it literally just goes wham right into the mental plane very quickly, which might be a little bit disruptive. So I've learned to slow that down a bit. One of my absolute latest techniques I've come up with, because sometimes I find that when I grab onto a spirit, and I think other retrievers notice too, if your energy isn't very high, it's hard to lift anything up. But I discovered that just by simply taking in deep breaths and then pretending as I'm exhaling that the energy is going back into me, this makes me sort of act very buoyantly, and it sort of causes me to float upward. And so that's sort of my latest technique that I've figured out. Now, that's retrievals, and that's some of the complexity that I've put into it over the years. And of course, I feel like a lot of people in the spirit know who I am and use me for some of the crazy retrievals. I even had this one experience where this other group borrowed me for a retrieval thinking, hey, this guy is really skillful. And then they put me in a difficult situation and I was struggling. I just couldn't catch the spirit that I was supposed to catch. And I could hear in one of my ears that it's like, this guy isn't as good as you said he was. So I have a bit of a reputation there, but I'm still very humble in the sense that at any given time, I may not be completely lucid while I'm doing the experience. I may not know what I'm doing. I may be in over my head trying to lift up too large of a scene and end up just creating a mess. I used to get in trouble. Never, when you do retrievals, never tell a spirit is dead. That will shock the spirit and it might cause them to fly into another location, and then they got to find them again. All right. So one other thing I would like to talk about is sort of a corollary to spirit retrievals is that you don't have to be asleep to do a retrieval. You can actually do a retrieval when you're wide awake, and at least maybe in a little bit of a meditative state. And where this comes in really useful is for healing. So I've been working on healing my energy body for almost 20 years now, and it's been a very, very slow and tedious process. But what I find is that as I'm finding traumas and what I would call past life energies that are stuck within my energy body, that really the technique is very similar to a retrieval. I first tune into that energy and try to figure out where that energy is coming from. And then I'll notice like there's a personality or there's a person behind that experience. Then I'll have sort of a conversation with that person where I explain to them that they've long since gone, but they're still taking up space within my energy body, and that we, in order to perform at our best, need to have you move to a better location where you're not clogging up the system here. And then I will then proceed to imagine that spirit move upwards towards heaven, we'll call it, but in my body space, that's like as though they're climbing up my neck, my head, and up to my crown, where above my crown, I could consider to be the heaven location. And so body retrievals, I think, is something that I'm going to think about more, and maybe something that I'll teach in the future, because I think it might be very helpful for people. Another term for it could be shadow work, although the contemporary connotation of shadow work is that it's only traumas that occurred within your current lifetime. But I would argue that a lot of our energetic issues come from traumas from previous lifetimes where the energy bodies haven't completely been rinsed out of the different experiences and personalities that took hold. So with that, I'll just say that once again, you can try a retrieval on yourself by simply noting pain or discomfort in a certain part of your body and just imagining if there's somebody there. And then also, if you're somebody who is capable of lucid dreaming or astral projecting, I highly recommend that you simply ask, I would like to do a retrieval, and see what happens. And if your team is ready, within a few seconds, you might be pleasantly surprised. So with that, I think we'll leave it to any questions.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was amazing. If anybody has any questions for Michael, please put it in the chat. There was one thing I did wish to ask you. I know you said like anybody can do soul retrievals, and you said just ask your team, but is there like a certain way you would recommend to like recognize it? Like I've had different experiences where I'm talking to I don't know if they're other lifetimes of mine or other people that like they show me how they died. You know what I mean? Like they remember it and they're just there. So I was just curious, like when you run into those, and I do like that you are talking about the different trapped energies and different things through different lifetimes, and you and I have spoken about this, and I did have one where it was affecting this life because there was like a trapped fragment that you were talking about, and it was a little boy, and it was affecting this lifetime, and because it was kind of holding and connecting that person to that lifetime, because it's almost like they knew their child was stuck. It's a long story, but I just think so. From those perceptions, how would you go about releasing some of that, or do you just the spirit helpers just take them, or is it like you make them aware that they can go to the light? Because I've talked to spirits before where like you can move, um, because I've never run into what you call spirit helpers to do those things. So I'm just wondering what your recommendation would be for that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I take for granted my experiences, but I think that when you look back, it was probably preordained that I would be doing, soul retrievals in this lifetime. And so there probably was a whole team of people preparing me for the endeavor. And of course, during a spirit retrieval, there's a whole team involved. I mean, I'm just doing the sort of introductory, meet and greet. And then there's a whole experience after that where they are, A, they're transported, and then B, they have like a whole debriefing session where they, first learn more about what happened and what needs to happen next. So I think one way to look at it when I do body retrievals is, and this is an interesting distinction that a lot of authors don't talk about, is that I perceive my past lives as actual personalities within my soul. And so each one of those past lives personalities is actually a potential helper. And so if you're trying to retrieve an aspect of yourself, you could call upon yourself and call upon the personalities of yourself. Now, if you're trying to get somebody else retrieved, then you want to call upon that person's soul's people to see what they can do. And if they can't do it, then yeah, you would need to step in and maybe get your own people to help out. It's one of those things where maybe at first your people may not just be familiar with the methodology, but over time they'll figure it out, and then they'll be able to help you with everything. One thing I discovered, for example, for myself, is that one of my personalities, or at least I think it's one of my personalities, is like an incredible healer. And I have no idea where she comes from, what life she had, but she's always sort of been there, and she's always been able to help me. But I think when it comes to retrievals, I think for my soul, this is a relatively new experience. So it maybe my personalities at first may not have been familiar with it, but they become familiar with the process. I would start with your own self, and then if not that, the person that you're trying to help self. And then finally, you can always ask, angels, and those kinds of beings, because that's actually one of their really powerful skills. I did mention this, but angels are one group of spirits that can go to the lowest subplanes, and they can even go to Earth if they need to do what they need to do. So they sort of have like special powers that ordinary spirits like us might not be able to do yet.
Awesome. People are just saying it's fascinating. I don't think there was any other questions, but I thank you so much for that amazing talk. I haven't even heard all of it. I've heard you talk about various different things, but that was really fascinating. Thank you so much, Michael. Now we're going to move on to our presentation from Rev Ned Sheldon about transmuting to pure love. Welcome, Rev.
Welcome. Man, it's very good to be here, to see each and every one of you, and the smiling faces, and transmuting to pure love. Some would call it cosmic love. I want to thank Loreli again for the sacred space, and all of you other bright lights of the cosmos flow that have gathered in the sacred space of one another. Transmuting is defined to change something completely, especially into something different and better. The roots of transmuting in the late 14th century refers to successive alteration and interchange, also a transformation in form or nature. From French means metamorphosis, a change of one substance in another, and from the late Latin, a change, a shift. So transmuting to pure love. So energies are being shifted into pure love from something not of pure love. Again, this would also be called an alteration, metamorphosis, a shift. A shift within us, a movement within us. This is a monumental change within ourselves, a shift in our heart thoughts and our head thoughts, which impacts our sacred essence. Pure love takes us beyond where most travel here in the 3D do not enter. A Tibetan meditation master, Trungpa, he said, quote, "In order to develop love, universal love, cosmos love, cosmic love, whatever you like to call it, one must accept the whole situation of life as it is, both the light and the dark, the good and the bad. One must be open oneself to life and communicate with it." End of quote. So I'd love to share some of my journey with you, my metamorphosis, my shift into pure love. You see, beautiful ones, I've been teaching on pure love for over 40 years now. And to teach on these cosmic energies, one has to go through internal shifts and alteration and much releasing. You know, I've worked and have been around amazing beings from 177 countries. Many of their languages have several words for love with very specific meanings. English does not have that, which means our word love gets abused and used and dragged through the muddy waters of our cultural energies. Creation is taught, Rev, about pure love through the elements, through Mama Earth and her children, and many of the higher friends. When I was cutting and gathering willow trees with my friend Uncle Dave, so we could build a sweat lodge, the willows were talking and saying, "Take me, cut me," in pure love. We ordered a creek with much water. So the earth and water and air were so ever present, and the fire within us and within the willow trees to communicate with one another. These willows were grounded and connected to Dave and I. These are some teachers, Mama's Earth's children, teaching us about pure love and giving themselves with no strings attached, no conditions have to be met, and to be used in sacred ways. Creation shows Rev about this pure love, this divine love each and every day. A year ago, last January, here on Celebration of Consciousness, I shared the first evening of 2 sacred evenings where an ancient spirit elder and thousands of higher beings asked me to assist them in what we call weaving the land ceremony. This was truly the meshing of cosmic pure love and coming together and connecting at one time from different densities for one divine purpose. Talk about transmuting to pure love. It was a cosmic evening to be remembered as the higher ones had a ceremony for Rev and pure love. And up to that time, I had taught on pure love for 35 years. They showed Rev how to expand and utilize this pure love in amazing, amazing ways. Then that evening, Mama Earth came to me and spoke about this upcoming ceremony, of course, in pure love. You see, I had facilitated many ceremonies there in the Grove and what we call in the Spirit Path, and they, the higher ones, know Rev quite well. One of the keys for Rev has been Grandpa Foolscrow's teaching. I have visited him in the higher realms. He crossed over in 1989. He was a Sundance chief, and many say the most holy person in the Americas in the 1900s. In my near-death experience in 2018, I was sent to him before I went on to what I call the bridge. He taught me and showed for me to show the higher ones, including the Creator, Wonka Tagashla, the Four Directions, and Mama Earth, how much I love them. This I do in pure love. You know what draws to pure love? More pure love from so many different cosmic places and beings. Every day is a mystical journey, even with life's challenges. Pure love connects Rev within me to tranquility and understanding and patience and endurance and joy. These higher energies are teachers that have prepared me for living in pure love in this 3D layer of energies and, of course, beyond. Some of my pure love experiences, very, very challenging. And some would make the mystical ones so filled with beautiful cosmic joy, this joy of theirs would saturate Rev. I've learned from the higher ones and from ceremony and from deep prayers of Rev, losing the 3D naming and the energies connected with Rev Ned. And at times I feel that I'm one with all that is, and my energy pattern is all I need with the higher ones. The other tags that go with Rev are really non-essential. It is quite amazing who we are in pure love. I was raised in good ways. My father taught me as a young man to test the waters of all the institutions that would impact my life: politics, religion, medicine, media, movies, music, TV, publications, and etc. As I grew in the higher ways, even as a teen, I would rather spend my time in the woods or at a pond than at a movie theater or in a mall. Rev is not a TV person, not a sports person. I've only seen 9 movies my whole life on the big screen, but each one of us are different and on different paths. This is the path I've been called to, this time around to Terra, to Mother Earth, to traverse. My cousin Tim, who I helped cross over many years ago, would come and live with us for long periods of time. As a young teen, he would teach me about near-death experiences, the afterlife, and our cosmic cousins. He was a meteorologist for the Marines for many years and had seen many cousins craft in the sky rivers. Here is a challenging relationship that Rev went through for 10 years before pure love transmuted this relationship. Someone I knew very closely was going through a divorce, and the wife and I asked them not to get us involved in their conflicting energies. Well, they both tried by having me in court. Then I called my friend's lawyer and I said, "You will lose this case if you have me in your divorce case. Pure love will prevail," I said. This lawyer removed me from this court appearance. For 10 years, I was threatened to be killed by this person that I was very close to. This person was a sharpshooter. I wrote multiple page letters to him, drenched in pure love. Early on in the striking out energies toward me is when I sent that first letter. The letter was never opened and it was returned. I would have thoughts out in the back, we live out in the country, that he would just be parked down the road and pick me off. But I gave that to pure love, to the creator, to the cosmos, and it changed that whole vibration of fear. Fear is a totally different energy than pure love. I infused this relationship within pure love for 10 years. Then one day, we met in a parking lot at a wedding reception, thanks to the cosmos setting this divine appointment up. That was a turning point that would eventually bring us closer together than we ever were. This bracelet that I wear every day was a gift from this person. After pure love brought us closer than ever in our friendship, this goes on me every day as a reminder of the power of pure love. Here's another transmutation into 2 pure love energies. And this is the healing focus of a Lakota ceremony. My Native friends organized a Lakota Lawampi ceremony, a night sing for me. The room was totally dark. The medicine man had his altar up and flowing, and drummers were present sitting around the drum, and maybe 50 people sitting on the floor with their backs up against the walls. The purpose of this night sing Lawampi ceremonies was because of my chronic Lyme disease. During the ceremony, something totally phenomenal happened to me. After the ceremony, we always partake of the food that people prepare and brought, and we have a feast. I was eating with my close friend, Uncle Dave. He mentioned to me that during the ceremony, remember the room was totally dark, there was a bright illuminating light from the direction I was sitting. I was in a chair with my cane in front of the medicine man's altar. This illuminating light went straight up and out of the building. I looked at Uncle and I said, "Yepperoo, that was me." I was taken in pure love straight up and way beyond the rooftop, way up into the air, into what we call the sky rivers. It seemed so mystically high in many ways. As I was being elevated, I knew I had become one with this being of light. This entity knew everyone's name and their life's energies. When I looked down, into the Lawampi ceremony, everyone had their own energy signature. This healing ceremony brought pieces of Rev together also. This being was radiating pure love through their essence. The voice was pure love to me. We were totally focused on the precious souls down in the Lawampi ceremony. This pure love entity and I observed every one of the precious ones sitting on the floor, the drummers around the drum, and the medicine man and his altar. For each person, I received how much they are loved, where they're at currently in their journey of the more. I was told about their flaws, their mistakes, and their current situations in life, but how valuable and precious they are. Some were struggling with various addictions, but the love was at a higher level, and it infused Rev and all those down below. It was transmuting. You know, I've loved people pure love-wise for a long time, but this was at such a deeper revelation from such a pure perspective being shared to Rev by a being of pure love. Judgments, opinions was nowhere in these energies. It was beyond 3D awareness. I had been teaching on pure love for around 30 years before this mystical rising. I was given the sacred perspective of pure love to expand who I am as a cosmic being. This was another sacred moment that altered my head thoughts and my heart thoughts and my essence to an ever-expanding awareness of why I'm here and how the holy ones see us. Pure love connects us to incredible energies that are there for us. And I've learned we are here for them. And when we gather in good ways, there's infusion of the higher energies of pure love. I wanted to share with you, precious ones, an important area in my life where pure love flows and takes care of Rev, and that's in my health. 10 to 11 years ago, I was bitten by a brown recluse, was hospitalized. My immune system was very low, and the chronic Lyme that had been stored in my body came dancing through. I went through so many tests that showed that I had this disease. My doctor back then said, you should not be walking, but living in a chair or a bed. The higher ones, like Rev's watchers and ancestors, and the little ones and many more around me more since Lyme. The upper Rev has become more aware of their presence. They love on me and bring me through many situations in their amazing love. In July of 2021, I had a stroke and spent 13 days in the hospital. I didn't know my family. I didn't know how to shower, floss, text, write. My walking I cannot do by myself. In the spring of 2021, I asked the cosmos source, take me to even deeper levels of pure love. Because I knew at that time in the spring, I was just scratching the surface, even with all the ceremonies and visitations. I'm trying not to cry. I was gifted in July with my request with a stroke. There's been a nemesis through the years of my life that many would call a dark being, a dark entity, an evil entity. We had been in physical struggles with this being, and I was tossed around like a rag doll in our living room years ago. The day of my near-death experience, this nemesis was present in the restaurant. I felt the dark presence. I knew this energy pattern, and I collapsed on the floor. So on the day of my stroke, I hardly knew how to dress when the wife, who was an RN for 44 years, was getting everything ready to take me to the hospital. I was outside on our brick steps right behind where I'm at. And this nemesis showed up, this time in a reptilian shape-shifting formation of energies. I basically was helpless at this moment in time. The nemesis picked me up, tossed me down onto the brick path, picked me up again, threw me down once again. He had me in his hands for the third time when a light being appeared, and oh my gosh, shimmering higher density energies of the more. This light being had energy bands on their backside Pure love transmuted this situation. At the arrival of this higher being, the nemesis departed. In the hospital, they eventually placed me in rehab. Around the 5th or 6th day, I had a being, a higher light being, come to the window. I was on the 5th floor. This being came as a plant, and I invited this pure love being into the hospital room. This entity stayed for around 1 hour with me, taking me places in pure love I've never experienced. It was such a pure experience for me that I connected to the more of me and the more of the cosmos. After this light being departed, I invited my nemesis to come. He showed up, and I loved on him, and this pure love was transmuting him. The energy of pure love saturated that room, was there for days till I left. One of my doctors from India, Dr. Gold, who's a practicing Hindu, asked the next day, "What's this energy in this room?" She was crying. I told her it was pure love. And every day she came in till I left, she cried because of the power of that pure love in the room. All of these experiences, Rev has had to do much internal work on me to remove energies that do not align with pure love. All my health challenges have brought transmuting energies into me in the most mystical ways. One important piece of truth I've learned through 40 plus years of teaching and living in pure love that I need to share with you is this: it's not welcome in the institutions. Pure love and fear do not mix. I've had the opportunity to share on pure love through teachings and plays and facilitating retreats in over 44 different church denominations. When you're sharing with big groups of people and you're up on a platform or a stage, you can see everyone's energy. Pure love has not been very welcomed. At the local university where I worked, I struggled with administration and many people in authority who resist pure love. But there's one little church that I was asked to share on pure love that was very accepting of me. I started to attend there because of the energies were so amazing. I became very close to the pastor. Our theologies were totally different, but our love and respect for another was on another level. Every service, I would see this happening. Pastor Grandpa would sit with a rectangle tambourine, and pure love would flow from his backside, enter and flow through him like laser beams coming out of the front wherever he looked. Every service was this way. They received heavenly visitations. Angels would come and sing and blow the ram's horn. One Sunday, pure love came in, and every one of us were being hit like a G-force when moving very fast in a vehicle. You cannot get up. It was pure love cleansing, realigning, and transmuting each one of us there. For Rev and the transmuting to pure love, I would not change one thing about my life. Every day is mystical and amazing for Rev. Visitations of the higher kinds come to Rev. The elements work with me in pure love. The watchers and ancestors and the little ones and the so-called mystical beings come to Rev and teach me many things. Mama Earth loves me and teaches me all the time. The critters are filled with knowledge. They come to me and share many things with me. Here in this energy shift since fall, and it happened last night. Every night laying in bed, if I do not fall asleep first, I have my cosmic family come and basically tuck me in with pure love. The crazy energies that are incoming to our plans that affect us and effect us, they come and assist Rev in the transmutation of pure love, which is ever expanding. Helping people cross over, pure love comes into the room. Cleansing lands and homes and apartments, pure love comes through such a variety of ways. Moving and flowing in pure love, one discovered there's more beyond the energies of religions. There's more beyond what we call spirituality. That 3D word has been dragged through the barn muck in our culture. I came across a blog by someone from India named Shri. Very feminine energies were wrapped all over her words. Here's how she described the more beyond religions and spirituality. Quote, what exists beyond both is true awareness. It's an awareness of one's nature as the divine. End quote. Amazing beings. We are energy. Yes, we're sound, we're vibration, we're color, we're light, we're divine. We are eternal. We are powerful vessels of hollow bones of this cosmic divine energies called pure love. You are a gift of the cosmos. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful presentation and following your story, Rev. Thank you so much for
You're
that.
welcome. You're welcome.
I was almost in tears with you. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Please type them over there. Thank you. I'm just, there we go. Moving it back there. And I thank you, Rev, for those perceptions. From my own experiences with living in that state of pure love, what I call divine source energy, and pulling that into this reality, I guess you might call it. I call it being a divine conduit. You call it being a hollow bone, right? And so I was just curious for you. I find so many people, and you and I always talk about, what should we talk about this month, right? And one of the reasons I asked on that, because I think with what Spirit has shown me going on right now of what we call the living right life review, a lot of people are really struggling with letting go, I guess, of their hurt, their resentment, their different perceptions of like how they perceived their childhood, or things that were done that were hurtful to them. And I just didn't know if you had any advice as far as when you look at those things, how do you become okay with those? Like, some people are severely traumatized by some of these actions. Like I know you said you wrote this person a letter, but how in your mind do you switch and work through those perceptions and in order to see that person and release that?
That's a good question. How long do we have?
We have quite a bit of time left.
There's been, and I'm going back, kind of flashing back, because actually the person I talked about was a relative. Okay. But there's been so many people and friends that have done so many mean things to me. And I think the key for me, as I shared earlier, I'd rather, when I was even a little kid, we had our little, it was a Chippendale burnout tree. We'd climb in, we'd meet there. That's what started. It was in the woods. And I'd rather be doing that and then watching the black and white, big, huge TV mom and dad had in their living room. And the way I was raised, to always check all the institutions. So I really haven't, one thing, I haven't been drenched into the culture like so many of my friends have. And that's okay. We're, like I said, we're all in different places. But being grounded constantly to the earth and to the energies thereof and Mother Earth, it's with the health challenges, which have been very challenging, what these pure love has done to me, this is hopefully answering your question, has done to me physically, because of the Lyme and the polyneuropathy. I've lost a lot of nerves, but I pray, I meditate, I do ceremony, and the doctors, you shouldn't be here. This nerve shouldn't be working. This shouldn't be happening. So if I can do that with Rev, to me, it's a sense to do it to some of the mean people. And it's just, and I've always, you would think after 35 years and having the near-death experience and the stroke, that I would know something about pure love, right? It just keeps expanding and expanding because we want to put limitations even on pure love. And then something comes out of our heart thoughts, our head thoughts, or something sparks something that we thought we had dealt with, and it's still within us. Still, that energy is within us. And to me, it's just been a combination of, and so you can do ceremony at home with water, which you work with the elements. And being out here in the country really helps since we have open skies in all four directions. But it takes a lot of work. And as Michael was saying about the helpers, the spirit helpers, so many of them come and teach me and help me. And I've needed more of those help with the health challenges. But if Rev can change some of those like nerve endings that they say I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that. And my neurologist, she says, she's from Bosnia Herzegovina. She told me, she says, I've studied strokes almost my whole life. You didn't have a normal stroke. It doesn't fit into the scientific books. And I asked her right before she was leaving, when we were in her office, I said, do you believe in spiritual strokes? Her eyes got about that big. I said, there's more to life than just this physical stuff and the medical stuff. And if that works on those issues, I really haven't had a problem with these. I want to say some of them are just mean, nasty people. I've been shot at. I had a bullet hole in the car right here behind me one time, head high. I've been death threats so many times teaching on pure love. And for me to continue to expand, I had to work through those. Again, heart thoughts, head thoughts, it changes your essence. And then you become more and more of as Grandpa Fulsco would say, a hollow bone. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Yes, thank you. And I think a lot of it does have to do with perception. When you have that, what I call the 360 view of the divine, like when you can read their energies, what their own wounds are. That helps me anyway. I always remind people, you don't have to continue to like subject yourself to those type of energies or how they treat you, but it helps give you understanding that they have this internalized issues. It's not about you. I always say nothing is personal. It's a reflection of their own wounds and inability to recognize and feel worthy of what you call pure love within themselves. Do you feel that's the case a lot of the time?
Yes, very much so. Very,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah. And so I think that's why it's so important that we do these healings between the different things like Michael was talking about, because all of these lives, they keep showing me, and so important right now. There's all of these lives that are connected to us energetically. In the space of the divine, everything is the now. The chicken, the egg, everything. It's in this now moment. It's all interconnected like this huge spider web of light. And each of those wants to be validated. Every time I do a session with people, it's like all these other little aspects. Michael calls them personalities. I call them personality complexes. Like they want the validation. They want to, they want to be recognized, or I was hurt. Even the body is like that. When I walk through a body, they'll tell me sometimes if nobody's ever looked at their energy. I can tell people that nobody's ever looked at their energy, or they've never looked at their own at all, or talked to their body, because their body will go off for like an hour. Like I had a sprained ankle when I was 5. It's never, um, so I think part of becoming this pure love, um, conduit and everything, which I'm honestly going to be doing a course about this, but, you know, um, is speaking to your body. You know, we need to speak to our guides and all these aspects of ourselves and to our body in order to heal these things, to be that love within ourselves. And once you are shining that pure love, it's almost like this, part of my challenge this week also was this experience where they kept reminding me, you know, the armor of God, the armor of light. When you hold that and you literally, like Michael was saying, in these other planes of existence, um, but even here, you're literally this glowing light. At the IANS conference, I met a few people. You could see their light. They were Christed. You could feel their love. And I had a lot of people actually come to me and say, your light, your love in the same way. Like, you're just like living love walking through this room. Who are you? or or light, And you know, if we could all just be those beacons, and just light up like that. And I think Rev shared so many great ways of going through that process and how anything can be transmuted. That was very encouraging, Rev. So thank you, because you've been through so many challenges trying to be this love in the world. And I thank you so much, you and Michael, for the things that you do to cause these healings within people. Because with the soul retrieval aspect too, like I told you, when I do these sessions, sometimes people are stuck because of these personality complexes that haven't moved on. So it's everybody's a piece in this puzzle of purpose, right? So I just wanted to thank you all. Now we're going to move.
Lorelai,
Mhm.
can I share something real quick?
Oh, yes,
That
please
it's coming through.
go on.
This is an addendum to your question. Even as a kid and being out in the woods constantly, I knew I was connected in oneness with all that is. I didn't need a teacher to tell me that. When we were 16, we moved to another place that had woods, and I had my Walden Pond there. And I've taught for so many years on there's so many energies out there that want to divide us, okay, within us, who we are. They don't want that heart thoughts and head thoughts to come. So they spend a lot of time trying to divide us. Then they divide us with one another. I mean, if you think of the, what is it, 4,000 religions on earth, all the different political groups that are on there, they're division, 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 division. Even sports can get in that division, division, division. And from a small kid, I knew this wasn't right. We are connected. And the times we've done ceremonies and we're all one. It's just like that first ceremony I shared a year ago on here. When you have people from different densities coming together at one to weave the land, to me, that's how incredible it is, because there was no division. And people have this, well, God's way up here. Like, there's a difference between worship a God than being one with God. It's a whole set of different energies. So when we learn to rid, to cleanse, to release, to transmute from these divisions, that has been really helpful in me to dealing with these, even the people that have threatened to kill me, end up loving them. And there's been several of them, because pure love is not, what, especially 40 years ago, pure love was not a good message. Or even 3 months ago, pure love is not a good message. But that's the reason I came back from near-death experience, to expand it of who I am, and to share that with others. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that you do and all the light and love you place into the world. And it is, a beautiful thing. And I returned, for similar reasons. And part of the reason, celebration of consciousness, was literally a whole download, because they wanted us to hold this space and create this portal to the divine love so that everyone who entered it was touched by it, could remember it, almost like reigniting their spark if they had, and just to energize it. You know, yes, we talk about all these different things, and we share, educate, and all these other things within the celebration. But the key core, the energy running through it, is all about remembering that divine love, peace, light, so many names, so many labels that we could give it. And I'm just so thankful for those of you that hold that space with me. Um, oh. I'm just feeling so much love pour through. I even woke up with a song playing through my head about that. It's a good day. Where is this coming from? Spirit's been speaking to me in song lately, so it's kind of interesting. Now we're going to move on to Master Hypnotist Jeff Kelson, who is going to walk us through our pre-birth planning. So welcome, Jeff, and thank you for holding space today.
Hi, Lorelei, just getting an idea.
Okay.
Okay, as far as my part, I've had the wonderful opportunity of listening to all of you and just getting a better idea of what's needed. So, on my part, now we have a wide variety of levels of exposure to this topic here. Like, for example, my friend Maria is a master coach on this topic and teaches it regularly. And we have other folks who are treading lightly in this direction and not quite sure what their connection is. So we have a variety of people here when it comes to this. So my job is to be your mirror. Now, there's a lot of words associated with this guided meditation and bringing you into the past life and into pre-birth and all that. Lots of terminology involved. My thing here is being your mirror. That's how I look at it. So when I'm going to bring you in such a way that it's going to resonate with you on whatever level you are. That's my plan. So let's get started. Now, the way that I go about it, my voice goes with the words. So I'm going to say it in such a way that it's going to flow. That's how I go about it. So as a starting point, as far as I know, everybody here currently knows how to go within themselves. I believe that's something we're all have some exposure to. So our starting point is, I always like to tell anyone who I go into a process with, no matter how good you are or how new you are, close your eyes, go within yourself, and just feel what you have going on within you. Whatever aches and pains you have going on, any area of your body, any tensions, any issues, any stresses. You just can't go wrong with that way of going in. So I encourage you to start off with that. Just be aware of whatever you have going on in your body, whatever you have going on in your mind, because plenty of us, oh God, things going on in our head, raging, and real busy. Plenty of us have that going on. So I encourage you to take a look at that, whatever you have going on in here, and say, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of me. And now it's time for us to take a step forward and let go. I encourage you to go that direction with whatever thoughts you have going on in your head. You just say, thank you so much. And for the time being, while I'm in this process, it's time to let go of that part and be within myself. I encourage that. So to whatever degree you're able to do that, that's where we start. Be within yourself. Check within yourself. Be aware of what is going on for you as we start, and be able to let go. Be at ease. free yourself, to just be within and be able to smoothly glide into your process, flow into it, and be with you. There ain't nothing else involved unless you choose that there is. So if that is where you are, that you're freeing yourself, letting go, being with you without effort, with ease, with grace, with self-love, I encourage you to go in with that, not so much armed with it, but with it taking care of you, embracing you, bringing you at ease into this process. I don't use any hostile words, so I'm not interested in being armed and all that stuff. That's just hostile words. So just be embraced, embrace yourself, take care of yourself, be within yourself, love yourself thoroughly going into this process. So if that's where you are, in the way that's right for you, in the time that's right for you, in the way that's right for you, go within yourself. And in this case, we're going all the way back, which for some of us is a long period of time. We've been through all kinds of traumas, all kinds of tests, all kinds of things that set us back. Whatever it is you've been through, I encourage you to move through all of that and all the way back to when you came into this world for the purpose of this process. Go all the way back to when you came in, however you came in. Some of us came in with ease and love. Some of us came in very different other ways. So whatever way you came in, be with that, with yourself, with love, embracing you. With that said, some of us are more in contact than others with how we came to be coming into this world. Those of us who are aware of that process that we engaged in to be making arrangements to come in to this physical body, coming out of the womb, to come into this world. Be with that, we will start to be in that process. For those of you who are less in contact with that process, be with this in a way that supports, embraces, and loves you. Take your time moving behind the process of coming into this world in the way that works for you. So for those of us who are able to embrace that behind the scenes process, the one that has generally been cloaked from us, for most of us, that is the case. There is somebody or something, could be an entity, it could be an archangel, it could be Jesus, it could be an angel, it could, whoever it is for you, that guided you, brought you through this stage of your journey to be able to come into this body, which it comes up a lot in discussions that we are lucky to come into this body, that we braved our way in. Now, whatever perception you have of that, go with it. We each have different perceptions and awareness of how we came in. For me personally, I didn't, the entity that welcomed me, that arranged it with me, didn't have a name, didn't use a name, was simply a voice, a presence. That's how it was for me personally. So for anyone who had that experience, embrace it, be loved through that experience. For anyone who had a more specific entity, such as an angel, an entity, perhaps God, who embraced you coming into this experience. Embrace whatever you resonate with, whatever you feel as you're in this process is for you, is how you came in. The wide variety of ways that has occurred for us. So however you did that, however it was for you, be aware, be focused on, have it be within you of what kind of arrangements you agreed to and made coming into this life. What you agree to that you would engage in this physical body, in this life, whatever you agree to that you would take on as challenges or opportunities or new experiences in coming into this physical body, in this life. For so many of us, those are very individual, unique experiences that we had prior. For those of you who are just starting to remember those experiences now in this process, we're starting to be acquainted with, we're starting to be familiar with those experiences in this process. Flow with it. There's nothing to be feared. If you fear anything of this process, be aware of that fear. And if you can, let that fear go. There is nothing to be afraid of. For any of you who are very unfamiliar, not quite sure what to do with this, perhaps not fully within your body process in being here, just be aware of whatever it is that you are encountering and experiencing in this process. Whatever that is, welcome it, embrace it. It is you. Whatever that process is a part of you. Embrace it, cherish it, bring to it, bring from it that opportunity to love and embrace yourself. Because for some of us, that's new. For some of us, we haven't had that, the opportunity to love and embrace yourself. For some of us, that's not a part of us that we already recognize and know. So for any of us that is the case for, embrace it. Take it on as a part of you. Know within yourself, deep within yourself, that is a part of you that you can have. It is a part of you. Have your higher self hug you in the process. Hug your inner self, embrace you, love you, is all part of the same process. Anything that you find being part of this process that you don't welcome, that you say, I don't want that. That's not what I want. I don't want that. It's being part of the process for any of us who have that going on. Embrace that. Embrace what you don't feel comfortable with, what doesn't feel right to you, what you don't want as part of this process. And be aware that it is there for you as a part of an agreement that you made coming in. Be aware. It's you. It's a part of you that either you needed to work out an experience, needed to resolve an experience, needed to have an experience, needed to embrace, needed to let go. A wide variety of ways that we can approach this depending upon who we are coming into this life. Now, with that said, now to the degree that you need or want to stay with that process, please do. If it is new to you, or if you are re-investigating it or reliving it now in a different way, please stay with the process as long as you need to, as long as it serves you. Please do. Now, there's also the part of us that experience other lives, simultaneous lives. before this one. Now, the nature of our timeline is that the human experience records time to it. That's a human experience. Now, how it works outside that human experience of bringing in the concept of time is that it is simultaneous, that the timelines are at the same time. And we may experience them as being before, as being after. Whatever your experience is of your other lives is valid, is real, is yours. However you experience that. You have had many other lives, wherever they may have been. We could be looking at Lemuria, we could be looking at another constellation, another galaxy, wherever that life was lived, wherever multiple lives have been lived. Many of us have had many, many lives before we came to this planet, many, many lives after we leave this planet. For those of us who have had many, many lives, so we may be aware of those lives from having had a lot of experience with this process prior. You may have very limited experience of experiencing and living those lives from not having had this process or for various reasons not having done it. Whatever your particular process is, be with it, love it, and embrace it. Whether you are very much in contact with other lives that you've had, you may regard them as previous lives. You may regard it as a timeline. You take it, embrace it, love it, and live it the way that it is for you. There's no right way. If you experience it as past lives, then that's what it is for you. If you experience them all as being on the same timeline, as being simultaneous, then that's what it is for you. Live them, love them, embrace them, cherish them, be with them in the way that is right for you. It is not going to be the same way that is right for everyone else. It is your process. Be with it in the way that you embrace it, in the way that you cherish it, in the way that you resonate, in the way that you relate to it. It will be different for each of us, how we relate to this process, how we experience this process. It'll be unique to each of us how we do this. What I ask is that whatever way you experience coming in, whatever way you experience the prior way of being that you came from to be here, whatever way that you experience past lives that you've been in, where you may have died, where you may have been killed, where you may have had a loss of a loved one, whatever way you experience that past life, that simultaneous life, be with it, cherish it. Is a part of you. You have that available to you right now, right here, to cherish whoever you have been, whatever you have been, however way you have been, whoever you have been with, whatever message was given to you along the way, whatever message was given to you in this process for who you are, who you should be, how you should be. You have messages along the way of something you've done right or something you've done wrong, some way you have loved or not loved along the way, some way in which you have connected or not connected with yourself or other loved ones along the way. Whatever that is, be with you, love you, embrace you, cherish you. You are worth it. For those of you who came into this world not embracing yourself, not believing that you could or should. It's that. This is your capacity and your love to love everyone else. Whatever you may have done, do not judge yourself. Do not condemn yourself. It was what you needed to do at that time for the reasons that you had, whatever it was. Don't condemn it. Don't hate. Love it. Love yourself, whatever it is that you did. And it comes in a variety of forms. Whatever you have done it before coming into this body, whether it be from a future self, a quote unquote past self, a simultaneous self, whatever it is, live it, love it. Do not part of you. If it's a part of you that feels separated from you, it's that chance now to bring it in as part of you. Love it, cherish it. Anywhere along the way, on your series of lives that you have lived, whether it be a few, whether it be many, cherish them all, love them all. They have been there to instruct you in some way. They have been there to take care of you in some way. They have been there as lessons to be learned. Treat them now as lessons, as experiences that you can love and cherish, to bring into yourself now in who you are, whatever they may have been. Bring them within yourselves with love. It may be helpful to have an orb of light, to have a blue light, to have a large light emanating around you. That may be helpful to you. Use whatever resource you have, whatever resource you need, whatever resource you want to bring into this process that works for you. Use that to embrace, love, cherish whatever that was that you did prior. Make it part of you that you can love, that you can embrace. Make it all part of you. Whatever it is that you have disconnected from before, that you have shrouded yourself from before, that you have had to keep from knowing before, that you have had to block from yourself before. Take it in with love. Embrace it. Cherish it as a part of you. Bring it within yourself. Bring it into your heart. Love any part of you from any time, anywhere. Whatever it is you had to do before, whatever it was that was a part of you that caused consequences, love it, cherish it, embrace it. It's part of you. Make it a part of you that you can love and cherish and embrace. In some cases, that will be more difficult than others, depending upon how you judge that part of you, that life that you live, that experience that you had in another life. If you have judged it harshly, it's time to recognize that judgment, that criticism, the way that you regarded it Let go of any anger, any hatred, any self-condemnation, any way that you've been condemned by others. You may have been burned, tortured. Whatever it is, let go of condemning yourself. Let go of the anguish and be with yourself. Embrace yourself. Love yourself. For some of you, this may be the first time that you do. Be with yourself. There may be one lifetime that stands out in some way as something that you feel deep down is something I should not have done, that was just wrong, that hurt people. Let go. Let go of that judgment. I'm not saying to let go of the action. You don't have to necessarily believe it in a different way. Let go of the judgment. The judgment is what holds you back. You have a belief about something that you believe was wrong. Let go of the judgment. Bring yourself from that judgment will put you at ease and set you with new energies you have not experienced before. Let go, whatever it was. Free yourself from whatever you believe you may have done wrong in any time, in any life. This can very easily go back to the beginning of time. For some of us, it does. Something that has trailed you forever, for millennia. It could very easily go back to something that happened to you, that was done to you long, long, long ago, that has trailed you through all these lives. It is time now. Let go. Embrace it. Bring it within yourself. Love it. It is that time to fully love and embrace you. Have whatever reactions you have to this process, they are part of you. Whether it be pain, crying, love, puzzle, whatever it is a part of you. Love and embrace it. It is that time. You have permission to do that. Give yourself permission to love and embrace everything about you in all ways. Everything you've ever criticized, condemned, been tortured for, been killed for, whatever it may be. Let go. Embrace yourself. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Above all, love yourself. You are worth it. You are worth it. No matter what you've done, whenever you did it, love yourself. With that, be with whatever parts of yourself you need to be with to embrace yourself, to love yourself, to be with yourself, to know that you're okay, that you're whole, that you are loved and loved, and that you can love yourself, that you are whole, that everything you've ever done is okay. Everything that's ever happened to you, you can let go of. Everything that's ever been done to you, you can let go of. You can part with that pain, that anguish, that hatred that has always been a part of you. Be you. Be you. You are love. Be who you are now, in this body, in this time. Be you, who you are. Take the time you need to be that. For those of you who are less in need of staying with the process, I would encourage you to continue to embrace yourself, continue to love yourself. That is not the message you've always had, that you've always been with. At whatever stage you are with this, however advanced or however new to this, embrace yourself, love yourself, be with yourself, feel it. It is such a different experience to embrace it and feel it than to know about it. Those of you who are well read, who've spoken endlessly on these subjects, who have talked endlessly on these subjects to people, it is so different to embrace, experience, and take care of yourself with love, cherishing yourself. It is such a different experience than to talk about it, than to have read about it, than to know about it. Take care of you right now in this space with love. Cherish yourself. You are the most important person in this universe and all universes. Take care of you, and then you have a very wide capacity for taking care of anyone else and all others. Start with you. Know that you are so worth it. Take your time. Use all the time you need to be with you in this process, regardless of how experienced or how new you are to this. The experience of loving yourself is different from the experience of talking about it. And I have gotten to know from various folks here who I've listened to that however many times you have loved yourself, each time that you embrace it is new and invigorating. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it, and do it now. And embrace yourself and love yourself all over again. Take as much time as you need. For those of you who may be starting to come to the end of their process, fully embracing yourself, loving and cherishing yourself. For those of you who are there, fully within yourself and starting to be ready to complete this process. For those of you specifically, feel free to start coming back into the room, continuing to love and embrace and cherish yourself at each moment, feeling it, experiencing it, embracing it, owning it. Do so in your own time, in your own way, the way that works for you. Take your time. You're so worth it. For those of you who are coming back, continue to take your time doing so. Continue to embrace yourself, to love yourself as you return. It feels like some of you are still coming back. I'm going very, very intuitively with those of you who are off camera. Feels like some of you are still returning. Take your time. It feels like many of you have returned, but some of you are still in need of time. Because I've been doing this a while. I know that the act of letting me know that you need more time will take you out of your process. I don't want you to do that. I will continue to feel you as you're returning. And I feel more of you coming back. I feel more of you coming back into the room. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Maria. So, if anyone at this stage needs more time, let us know. Otherwise, it is time for us to come back together. And hopeful that every single one of you has embraced yourself. So I know it's a complicated process for some of us. It feels like at least nearly everyone is back with us. I don't feel anyone very distant at this point. So anyone who still needs more time, feel free to use that time. Otherwise, I'm going to anticipate that we're ready to take the next step.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate it, and thank you all for holding space with it. That was beautiful. Um, we're gonna round it up today with a very connective and beautiful closing blessing with our Rev Ned. He always wraps up these beautiful celebrations so well. Thank you, Rev.
Yes, right.
And I think he's getting his mic.
Oh,
Yeah, your microphone's not working.
Rev, you look like you're off mute. You're not, well,
No,
you're still not though. You're still muted in some way, but it's not showing on the screen. No,
no.
not yet.
I'm a great lip reader, though. Well, as we know, Spirit likes to give us some technical difficulties. Sometimes we overload the circuit. I know at the IONS conference, I think they had to change the batteries on my microphone 3 times in a row. Yeah.
It looks like we do have those technical difficulties right now with Rev.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not hearing you. No.
Take care. Mm.
Oh, Eric, I didn't know you were here. Wonderful. Thanks for being here.
No, Rev, I don't know. Do you need to disconnect it and reconnect it?
Thank you,
I'll edit,
Keisha.
I'll edit this out of the recording, obviously, but
Thank you, Zoe.
thank you all for being patient.
What about now?
Yeah,
Now we
there he
got you.
is.
Yay!
All in divine timing. Go ahead and take it over, Rev.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to start and close with a frog grass. The frog people are amazing to Rev. They represent water, they represent feminine energies. And the frog reminds us of cleansing, of renewal, transformation, metamorphosis, and life's mysteries and the ancient wisdom. Some of the words that were shared today: spirit helpers, gateway, backstage pass, singing to souls, angels, transmuting into pure love, talking willows, low wampy love. Be at ease with yourself, embrace yourself, hug your inner self, cherish you, let go. You're worth it. Take the time to be you. You are worth it. Rev is very honored to be here today in this space, to be here with each one of you precious souls and the more who are gifts of the cosmos. For many years, I've taught how sacred each breath is, how sacred each step is that we take, because we're sacred beings in this cosmic river of the mystical more. Sacredness is within each of us every day. Think how many breaths each one of us have taken during this celebration of consciousness gathering. Each one, each breath is so sacred. Do you know what a cosmic blessing it is to have sacred meet sacred? Beautiful ones, this has taken place here in our mystical energies. For example, our heart thoughts meshing and mingling with our head thoughts are important sacred hubs for us. Our celebration gatherings created an awareness of the mystical morn, an awareness of our cosmic connections within us and beyond us and with one another. Sacred meaning sacred has taken place with each one of us who are present today in this live or even at a later viewing. I came across this quote from that very famous author, Anonymous. Quote, "When we begin to see the divine in one another, each meeting becomes a second encounter." End of quote. Very precious words. We are 7 sacred days into 2024, and we've had a sunspot, fire, and X5 flare, the biggest flare of the solar cycle 25 and the biggest one since 2017. Our relationship with our stars is sacred, and it's fascinating that we're made of the stuff of the stars. Blessed beings, it is interesting that 2024 has that universal number of 8 when you add the 2 and the 0 and the 2 and the 4. Energies that mean power and passion and authenticity. Now, if we look at the shorter sequence, 24, 2 plus 4 is 6, it's love, creativity, and compassion. And for Rev, authenticity and love and creativity have been in the forefront of my energies the last few weeks. For you and I to be authentic, us, and as we become more and more the authentic us, we complement creation. We touch the cosmos with our authenticity. Creation does react to our authenticity in incredible ways. We are cosmic beings, we're eternal, we are wrapped in the divine ways and energies. We are cosmic as Earth zips around the sky rivers, and in turn, the solar system does the same, and our galaxy does the same with other local galaxies. How incredible that we are as cosmic as our cosmic cousins are. My grandma Sheldon, who crossed over in my arms, would say we're getting all gussied up when we're going somewhere. We are cosmic beings, and we are to get all gussied up with our higher authenticity and knowing deep in our essence. We are cosmic beings that have been around a long time. Yepper, we're to get all gussied up in our fine galactic energies of who we truly really are. Talk about authenticity. American psychologist Abraham Harold Maslow wrote, quote, "The sacred is in the ordinary. It is to be found in one's daily life, in one's neighbors, friends, family, in one's own backyards. You are very sacred. Every day sacred. Our daily tasks are sacred. Our chores are sacred. And Rev has found through the years that my health challenges are very sacred. What divine and cosmic blessings, energies we have within us, all around us, for the sacred to meet the sacred. How empowering and refreshing. Amazing ones that we know how sacred we are within us and move and flow through each sacred day in sacred ways in all we do. The cosmos open doors and windows and portals for our sacredness to meet the sacredness. We give thanks for every soul being here. May the frog people teach us deeper, deeper things about transformation, metamorphosis, life's mysteries, and the ancient sacred wisdom here in 2024. Well, shining sacred ones of the magnificent, mystical, more higher beings you are, the infinite cosmic light be with you till we come together once again, and blessings.
Thank you so much for that, Rev. That was beautiful. You always tie in the energy so well. As I said, I am so thankful for all of you for holding space with us today, supporting all the beautiful work that we try to do in the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to wrap things up now. I just wanted to make sure to invite you. We have a weekly Seekers and Sharing meeting at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern every week, where you can connect more with this beautiful energy and the people that you see. And I'm looking forward to next month. We have a beautiful lineup, so I hope you will join us again on the first Sunday of the month. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And blessings be to all who have entered this space or will listen to it in the future. Thank you.